Some things fall apart, some things make you whole, some things that you find are beyond your control.
Hello. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please get seated. The next session is about to start. The next speaker is Pavol Lupták. He's probably quite well known to you because I think that he had a lecture at every Hackers Congress we had. He's one of the founders of Polis. He's an ethical hacker and long-term crypto anarchist. And today he's going to tell you how to achieve personal freedom. And he will be talking about really interesting stuff as far as I know. So please get seated and I will give floor to Pavol.
Thanks for introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So maybe you have noticed, maybe not, but in these days there are like political elections in Czech Republic. So people are voting finally for the good politician who will save this country, who will save us. And there are some people like me who decided for a completely different approach. I think, personally I don't vote. I think it doesn't make sense. And I decided to use globality, flexibility, and crypto technologies to liberate myself. So my presentation will be about how to use crypto technologies, flexibility, and globality to achieve your freedom, both personal and economical ones. So Hans has already introduced me. I would like to skip it. I like this romantic, maybe a bit esoteric quote from Christian Andersen. So freedom is really important for our life, almost inevitable. And if you want to have freedom in your life, you can have multiple options how to achieve it. So the first option is you can do it what most Czech people are doing just now, vote. Every 4 years, with the weight of your vote less than 1 to 1 million, and maybe you will finally vote for the good politician, and maybe not. I think that it is really unlikely that your vote may change the system. Another option is just to be activist, organize anti-corruption demonstration, petition for the better government. In Slovakia, we had a lot of anti-corruption demonstration for the finally better government, but unfortunately, I must say that they changed nothing, almost nothing. Another option, if you change the system, you should become a politician and try to change it from inside. So this is another approach, unfortunately only for few people. But in my approach, I'm going to explain you more in this presentation, is to opt out from the system. So you don't need to wait for the approval from democratic masses. Just be global, be flexible, grasp crypto liberation technologies, and pull all legislation possibilities, and finally be free. So this is the content of my presentation. I'm going to show you how it is possible to choose the suitable country for your permanent residency, for your company, why it's important to eliminate the center of your interest in your home country, why you should divorce, for example, sell all your properties, become homeless, why it's really necessary stop using bank accounts, at least your personal ones, close your bank accounts, switch to crypto completely, switch to truly anonymous crypto completely if it is possible, choose your global healthcare insurance because you don't need to be insured in mandatory insurance of your country, choose your world mobile operator, why you should embrace sharing economy, also should be aware that we have something what is called DAO, or Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and also what is most important, spread the word, help your friends to opt out of the system, and help them to move to parallel society. So the question is why you should change your permanent residency. The thing is that there are two things. You have your citizenship, for example, Czech citizenship, and it means that you have your passport, and you have your national ID. A national ID is bound to your permanent residency. So when you give up your Czech, German, or Slovak residency, you are automatically losing your national ID. And this is good because your citizenship, if you have, for example, European citizenship, it provides you a lot of benefits, a lot of advantages. So you can travel freely, for example. But residency, permanent residency, usually provides you a lot of duties, and the goal is just to avoid all stupid duties. So, for example, I had Slovak permanent residency, and because I had a Slovak permanent residency, I had to go to military service. For example, in some case of war conflict, I also had to pay mandatory healthcare and social insurance. In most European countries, you have mandatory healthcare insurance. So if you have residency in any country, you should choose from oligopoly of few healthcare insurance provider and pay one of these mandatory healthcare insurance. If you opt out your permanent residency, you don't have such obligation. And also tax residency. So you should be aware that if you are staying somewhere more than half a year, you should, the given country is your tax residency, and you should pay taxes in the given country. But if you become perpetual traveler, personally, there is no country where I stay more than half a year. Legally, you don't need to pay taxes anywhere. At least if you decide to find some suitable country with so-called territorial taxation. So it also means that when you have permanent residency in any European country, you should pay your income. You should pay taxes from your foreign income, and also from all your crypto profits. So when you buy Bitcoin for some price, then you sell Bitcoin for some other price, you should pay. You have some profit, and you should pay taxes from this difference, from this profit. Okay, so the question is, what are suitable countries for permanent residency? So if you want to find the suitable country for your permanent residency, I strongly recommend you to choose country with a territorial taxation. Territorial taxation basically means that you pay taxes only from your local income, so in the given country. So for example, personally, I'm Panamanian resident, so I pay only income from Panama. So if I have income from any other country as a physical person, I don't need to pay any taxes. And there are many other countries, like for example, Costa Rica, Gibraltar, Hong Kong, Macau, Malaysia, Nicaragua, Panama, and also, for example, Georgia. I mean, post-Soviet Union, Georgia, not the American state. And also, if you can choose from all these countries, you should prefer the country which has signed double treaty agreement, I mean double treaty tax agreement with their home country, for example, Czech Republic. Because it means that you can use this company to issue your Czech or Slovak or some European customers. So if you're a Czech citizen, there are multiple options like Hong Kong, Malaysia, Panama, Singapore, and also Georgia, for example. In case you are Slovak, options are Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, and also Georgia. Okay? I had this presentation also for Serbian audience, so this is if you're a Serbian citizen. So the question is why I finally decided for Panama. The first thing is I have a lot of good friends in Panama. A lot of these friends in Panama are just here at this Congress. I know Spanish, Another cool thing is Slovakia, together with almost all European Union countries, are on so-called Panamanian friendly list. So it's much more easy for you to get permanent residence in Panama. It has nice territorial taxation, so you basically pay taxes only from your Panamanian income. No central bank, so this is the reason why Panama is probably the most developed country in Central America, because there is no central bank. By the way, they use American dollars. Okay, American dollars, yeah, I know Fed, and they still also have problem with the inflation, but it's not so bad like when you use pesos and some Latin America central bank. It's really easy to start a new Panamanian company. It's the safest country in Latin America. It's very developed with a stable, good weather. And if you're retired, if you're an old guy, Panama offer you a lot of discounts. So, and also it's a great country for digital nomads. And also I would like to mention benefits of having no permanent residency in the European Union. So the thing is, I'm going to explain you like specific, for example, you are caught by Czech or Slovak police, and you should pay some penalty, some fine to the police. And you tell the police, okay, I'm willing to pay this fine, no problem at all, but unfortunately I don't have a cash with me. So please, can you issue me, send this the fine to my permanent address? And the police says, okay, no problem. Where's your address? And you tell him, okay, I don't live. I'm a Slovak, citizen of Slovakia or Czech Republic. I don't live here. So my permanent residence is in Panama City. So please send me this fine to Panama City. But remember, in Panama, there is no state central postal office. So you have to send it by courier, and it costs you at least 100 euros. And another thing is that they will throw it away if it is not in Spanish. So please translate it to Spanish, please. You know, so you automatically increase expenses of any fine sending from European Union to Panama to 200 euros or 250 euros, something like that. And it's quite likely that European bureaucrats, they just throw it away and you will be a lucky person. So this is the first thing. Another thing is that this is just one-way situation. So if the government wants something from you and you have a permanent residency in Panama, it will be much more complicated and difficult for them. But the opposite situation, when you, as a Czech or Slovak or European citizen, want something from your local government, it's quite easy. Because, for example, in Slovakia, we can have 2 passports because of Israel, the second passport because of Israel. So what I can do, I can visit any Slovak government institution and use these two passports and get anything I really need. So another option is like the failback. It's quite easy. So changing your permanent residency back to the European, to your home country in the European Union, it's quite easy. You can do it anytime. It costs only 5 euros or something like that. And all European healthcare insurance companies, they also, according to the law, they have to provide you healthcare insurance. So practically there is no risk at all. So other option I was considering, I was thinking about Paraguay, but unfortunately I don't know anybody in this country. Malaysia. Malaysia is a good country because it has double tax treaty agreement with Slovakia and Czech Republic, and there is a special state in Malaysia which is called Labuan, which has limit for maximum taxation, which is $7,000. So you pay some percentage from your income, and when you reach the limit threshold, which is $7,000, you don't pay any other taxes, which is quite interesting. But the problem is that technically in Malaysia, you can obtain a lot of different visas, but getting real permanent residency may be still a problem there. And it's a strict regime, there is a censorship, not like in Panama, for example. Also, I was thinking about Singapore, but Singapore, many libertarians consider Singapore to a great economy, great country, but regarding personal freedom, there is a death penalty. I don't like this country, it's too strict for me. Also, Nicaragua, The problem of Nicaragua, it's not really safe country now because Nicaraguan president, he's shooting to students who are trying to demonstrate against him. Costa Rica, it's just too expensive for me, full of American gringos. Okay, so another question is, choose the suitable country for your company. So if you want to find the suitable country for your company, you should ask the question, where are your customers? So if your customers are out of the European Union, it doesn't make sense for you to have really bureaucratic European companies. So I recommend you to use any offshore country like Seychelles, for example, Bahamas, Barbados, any country, and create a company there. If you have customer inside of the European Union, I strongly recommend you Cyprus. Because Cyprus is the country, European country with the least income tax, which is 12.5%, or maybe Estonia. Like in Estonia, there is a flat tax, 20%. But the cool thing about Estonia is that you have to pay these taxes only when you want to cash out your money from the company. Another advantage of Estonian company is that everything can be managed remotely, including creation of this company. So another thing you should be aware that if you don't have a physical, if you are providing virtual services and you don't have a physical office in Czech Republic or Slovakia or any European country, it is almost impossible to prove where the work is physically done, because you have no office. So in this situation, it really doesn't make sense to have your company in Slovakia, Czech Republic, or any other countries. So if you're in this situation that you have no office, I strongly recommend you to move your business to Cyprus or Estonia and avoid all stupid bureaucracy you have to face. Okay, so the reason why you should leave your company from Slovakia, Czech Republic. So the first thing that I think we still have a lot of high taxes. For example, in Slovakia, we pay more than 50% of all our income to the government. So you basically work more than half year just for your government. Also, we have mandatory healthcare insurance. So you have to pay your insurance. It's also a very unstable environment for entrepreneurs because laws in Slovakia are changing very often. The similar bad situation is, for example, also in Czech Republic, because in Czech Republic we can see a lot of situation when really honest companies were closed down by Ministry of Finance. So we have a lot of dangerous laws. For example, Slovak governments, they wanted to have access to all companies' bank accounts without the court order, and many other stupid laws. And also in Slovakia, we have highly corrupted tax system. And this was exactly what was I talking about. The Czech Republic tax office preemptively freezes bank accounts of innocent companies. What is happening unfortunately, in Czech Republic? So Czech Republic, unfortunately, is not a good country for creation of the company, especially if you are doing like a virtual internet business. So, but the thing is that if you create company in some country, if you decide to give up your citizenship and not citizenship but permanent residency and gain permanent residency of some other country, you should also eliminate the center of your interest in your home country, because otherwise your government of your country can say, okay, you are like a Panamanian resident, but still you have a lot of properties. In Prague, for example, you have your wife, you have your husband here. This is a problem, so your tax residency still should be Czech Republic or Slovakia or any European country. So there are multiple options what you should do. You should definitely leave your official job. You should divorce or persuade your husband or wife to also obtain permanent residency in some other country. You should sell all your properties. You can sell all your properties in your home country to your Panamanian company, for example, or to your Georgian company. You should also sell all your companies to your Panamanian company or to your any other company. You should become perpetual traveler. So it would be absolutely great if you are traveling all the time, and if it is impossible to prove that you are staying in some place more than half a year. Especially, we are quite lucky because we live in Schengen, And in Schengen zone, it's almost impossible to prove that you're staying somewhere more than a half year because we have no borders, basically. And my personal recommendation is just to become homeless. Because when you are homeless, you have no obligation at all. And for example, there is no risk of government seizure. So the government, in case of execution of seizures, there is nothing for the government to take you. This is very practical. Also, you should close your bank account. You should be aware that if you have a bank account, you are always tracked and monitored by the government. I have to admit that sometimes it's not possible to close to your bank accounts. So personally, for example, I'm still using Revolut and Mr. Tango. Revolut is a Gibraltar company. Mr. Tango is a company from Lithuania. It's a the only working debit card. And also, if you're interested in how to stop using bank accounts and switch to crypto completely, I recommend you to check my older presentation, Achieving Financial Freedom Using Cryptocurrencies. Also, you should be aware that there is no country with no bank where you have a bank secrecy. So, for example, all banks, they have to follow FATCA, OECD tax agreement, KYC, ML, and a lot of stupid bureaucratic regulation, so you have no privacy at all. So I strongly recommend you, if you create any international company, don't create bank account for this company. Stay completely in crypto. If it is possible, stay completely in truly anonymous crypto. Okay? So my choice is Monero. So all my anonymous savings is in Monero. There is an easy anonymous way, which is called XMR.2. It's a gateway. You can use even smartphone application Monerucho if you want to convert easily and in an anonymous way all your Moneros to Bitcoins. There is also the website SimpleCoin or Mr. Tango. So for example, your international company can be registered using these services, and you can pay all invoices in fiat using these services. Mr. Tango is probably the only working Bitcoin debit card these days. If you live in Prague, which is a crypto city of the world, you are probably quite lucky because there are a lot of companies, the biggest hardware supplier in Prague or in Czech Republic, they support crypto. Also, a lot of food suppliers, they support crypto. So it's quite easy to survive using crypto only in Prague. And the situation is also improving in many other cities. So it is possible to live without bank accounts, and if you want to be very strict, you can still receive your fiat payments through the service which is called Bitwage. What does it mean? It means that you have some customers, and this customer, they don't support crypto. But this customer should be still able to send you some fiat money. So what you can do, you can register your company at Bitwage and generate them a special invoice with a temporary IBAN and temporary SWIFT code. Your customer pay you invoice in fiat, and using this service, you automatically receive just pure Bitcoins. So this is a really nice service. But you should be aware that all official crypto exchanges, they have to follow KYC and AML. So my personal recommendation, I stopped using centralized crypto exchanges, and a few months ago, I started to use like a completely decentralized crypto exchanges. My personal recommendation is BISC. So if you have time, don't use centralized crypto exchanges, install BISC and use BISC. Today I found out there is another decentralized crypto exchange which is called Waves. Okay. Another thing is choosing your global healthcare insurance. So the problem is that in most European countries you have to pay healthcare insurance. But if you give up your permanent residence in Europe, European country, you don't need to do that. In these days, there are a lot of global, completely private healthcare insurance companies like Cigna, Aetna, Premier Healthcare, and many, many other companies. And you can be the customer of this company, pay them, for example, $100 monthly, and you will automatically get the completely private healthcare insurance. So it basically means that when you travel in almost all countries except the US is exception, you can pay everything in cash and just take the receipt from your doctor and send it, scan it, send it to your healthcare insurance company, and they will pay you immediately all your expenses. So also the other approach is just to be global and flexible. So for example, I can tell you that in Hungary there are cheapest dentists. In Czech Republic there is really cheap and good eye surgery. So you can, what you can do some kind of healthcare travel hacking and find a suitable country for what you exactly need. So I'm just in the process of looking for the most suitable company. Mobile operator. You know the Project Fi? Raise your hand if you know the Project Fi. Okay, so Project Fi is really cool. It's the global mobile operator owned by Google. So I have like the most secure phone, which is called Google Pixel 2 XL. I pay $10 for 1 gigabyte everywhere in the world, with a 20 cents for 1 minute everywhere. And there is a threshold limit 5 or 6 gigabytes. When I reach this limit, I pay maximum $50 or $60, and then I have data roaming everywhere in the world for free. There is also like rate limiting, I think, when you reach 12 or 13 gigabytes or something like that. The problem is that you need a special device if you want to use Project Fi. It doesn't work with most phones, so you need to buy Google Pixel, or Nexus, or Moto, or LG, and so on. Another problem is that you can obtain it and activate it in the US only. So I strongly recommend you to contact your friends, ask him to send this Project Fi SIM card, activate it. I use eSIM version, and then bring it back to Europe, and you can use it globally. So this really works. And the cool thing is, you don't need to trust Google. Personally, I don't trust Google, but this is not a problem, because you can just use their, you can use them just like an internet service provider. So still, you can use end-to-end encryption all the time. So if you're interested about choosing the global mobile operator, I strongly recommend you to read another article, which is called How to be online everywhere in the world and make receive call for local rates with just one phone. Okay. Another service which is quite interesting is Hash.com. I'm not sure if you know the service Hash.com. Basically, using this service, you can obtain number, anonymous number in almost every country for local rates. I think it's quite anonymous, especially when you use Google Play coupons instead of your debit or credit card. When you have British, American, or Canadian number, you can even receive or send text messages to this anonymous number. So it's absolutely perfect solution if you are just traveling and you want to have a local number immediately in some country. Embrace sharing economy. So this is must. Because you are homeless, you don't have anything. You should use all benefits of sharing economy. So I strongly recommend you, if you don't have the car, use Car2Go, which is probably one of the biggest short-term car rental provider in the world. Also in Prague, for example, I use Car2Way. In Bratislava, I use Upcity. Personally, I'm registered in almost all possible bike sharing systems in all these cities. I try use to Uber, Taxify, Cabify, everything. So when you are staying in some country, always check what are the current possibilities of using sharing economy. Okay, I would like to ask you to play this video, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Full screen? Is it possible to make a full screen?
So you asked me if there's going to be a revolution.
And increase volume?
I think there's already a revolution happening. We're seeing it everywhere.
Honestly, I feel like blockchain is almost slipping through the cracks. They don't even see that we're a threat yet. If you have a decentralized entity that people can opt into, that starts performing services that the government used to provide, then what do you need these guys for? Bitcoin is the first real experiment in DAOs. It's the first DAO that ever existed.
What's a DAO? I mean, Decentralized Autonomous Organization is what it stands for, right?
Basically, a decentralized autonomous organization is an organization in which you can interact with it without having to go through an intermediary.
I think that's very important for us to have tools that are really censorship resistant.
We have evolved so much as a society but yet our governance structures are hundreds of years old.
We had a long period of monarchies, right? And that was a very centralized form of governance. And we had a great evolution with democracies, right? Spreading that power a bit more. Now, I would argue that corporations are superseding nation states in terms of their power.
You're a digital serf right now, living on Facebook. You work the land, you work the feed, and they take all the benefit. They take all of the value, right? It's a free service where you are the product.
Systems tend to perpetuate themselves. In other words, capitalism tends to do what's best for the market, maybe not what is best for all the individuals who comprise the market.
Silicon Valley, they tend to fund projects or companies that are trying to solve very much first world problems. How do you get your food 5 minutes quicker? How do you get your Uber 2 minutes faster? Whereas with blockchain technology, we have the ability to fund initiatives that will produce true social good and provide value to the most undervalued parts of humanity.
This is the most egalitarian way to construct systems.
The culture is moving faster than the nation state can handle, right? We can have that same personal feeling that I have with my neighbor with the people in a chat room.
Traditional government institutions take a tremendously long time to fail, and when they do fail, there's usually violence, so we try not to let them fail.
But today, we are in the first time in history that we can actually try out new governance models without the need of people getting killed, because we can try those governance models from the comfort of our sofa.
In the mathematical realm, you cannot threat an algorithm with a gun.
Because it's unstoppable, it's open source code. The cat's out of the bag right away when someone has the idea.
Anything closed source is like saying, I'm a scientist and I've proved something, but I'm not going to show you how I proved it.
It's just free. You download it from the internet, it's open source, you want to enhance it, you do it, and if you don't like it, you can just fork it.
And if we have means by which groups can connect to each other to form larger governance structures that govern the entire whole, then we have something that kind of is resembling a fractal structure.
If you think about kind of other examples of superorganisms, you know, like beehives and ant colonies, or even just the human body itself is a bunch of cells and microorganisms that are all working together in a single like human body as their environment.
But now what we have proliferating with crypto networks is actually these supranational protocols in which human activity can be governed on this international basis without nation states, without corporations.
So what it allows is for people to come together from wherever, and they can interact together, they can make decisions, they can share in the common enterprise, and then they can all benefit together.
Governance ends up being a really key part of making that work. And if you view blockchains from an evolutionary standpoint, this may be the most critical feature one could imagine.
Any organization of any kind, from your mom and pop shop to your decentralized autonomous organization, can create an entity on Aragon's network and use it for all kinds of things, like their cap table, like payroll, to show where their finances are going, for voting, for upgrades, to the way in which that organization works.
Aragon is a tool that I think will spawn many different early attempts at decentralized governance structures, which, if implemented well, will be powerful.
It's actually two components. So the first one is the Aragon platform to build and govern organizations, societies, and protocols. And the other part is the first digital jurisdiction that has ever existed, the Aragon network.
That doesn't happen very often in the real world. It's rare that you get to set up a new central bank or a new government. So I think we're going to be in sort of this Cambrian explosion of experimentation on both of those fronts.
But with any huge transition that happens in human history, they are very insistent in making us believe that we need them. So the incumbents are trying to use their marketing power, their communication power, their surveillance power to convince people that they still need them. But the market and the people will eventually figure it out that they don't. And that will be the end of the establishment.
Okay. Next slide, please. So this was just a PR video of DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. So you should be aware that in these days, governments, they have monopoly over issuing business licenses. So if you want to create a company, you can create Czech company, American company, German company, but still there is some government of some country behind your company, responsible for controlling or regulating this company. But this may not be true in the future, because DAO means that any agreement of, for example, co-owners, of shareholders of some organization or the company can be transformed to something which is called smart contract. And this smart contract can be put to blockchain, and you will just create like completely decentralized autonomous organization. So this is the goal. We should, in the future, we should stop using like government-based companies and switch to DAO completely. I hope it will be possible. So this was just advertisement of Aragon DAO. This is one quite developed implementation of DAO. I strongly recommend you to check it. Okay. And another important information is that you should spread the word. You should inform about these possibilities of being free, using crypto technologies, and using globality and flexibility to your friends. So if you like this presentation, maybe share the link to this presentation to your friend, because I think more and more people will be involved in this liberation process. I think we will be able to find more and more innovative ways how to avoid all obstacles and all bureaucracy used by the government. And you should be aware this is a real deal. So voting for the finally good political candidates or trying to change the political situation in country, I think usually doesn't improve your lives effectively and just now. I can tell you personally that if you are flexible and global at the same time, you can achieve new kind of freedom. Okay, but you can still say, oh, this is so complex, this is so horrible, what about my family, what about my friends? Then the secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage. So try it. It's possible, it's feasible, you can do that. Embrace the new digital world with no more borders, because this is the future. The future is bright, the future is decentralized. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Okay, so thank you very much for the talk, and now it's time for questions from the audience. Right, I will try to remember the order as you raise the hands.
Hi, thanks for the talk, excellent. Have you heard of the NHR, or the non-habitual resident program in Portugal?
No, not yet. I know Portugal quite well. I used to visit like Porto and Lisbon few times per year, but I don't know this program. Maybe you should send me more information after the presentation. We can meet. I'm definitely interested in.
Yeah, I don't know so much, but it's worth looking into.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Question?
Hello. Listening to that, I'm guessing maybe you don't have children, because a lot of those options would be a lot more complicated.
I have 2 children.
Okay. So second question is, I'm specifically interested in Panama, and I'm wondering if you can tell me how child-friendly Panama is. Is it safe for children? Do they have good schools? Do they have good parks, etc.?
I think there are really good schools for children in Panama, especially in Panama City. Like good schools for expats, like foreigners, especially from the US and United States. I can give you the reference to really good Panamanian Greek school. You know, this is quite interesting. You know, one of the best school for children, or Greek one, in Panama. Yeah, so definitely there are a lot of good schools. Don't worry about this.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the answer. Just to clarify, having permanent residency in Panama doesn't mean that you need to educate your children in Panama.
Yeah,
is that right?
okay, okay, so the thing is, unfortunately in Panama, there is like an obligatory you have to put your children to school, but it's not enforced so much like, for example, in Europe, and it's also quite difficult to prove you, especially if you're like if you are not like a permanent, if you are not like a local citizen. So what I know, it's not enforced, but officially it's mandatory. I mean, mandatory school education. Yeah, but there are some other countries, for example, Malaysia, where it's not mandatory for expats, children.
Thank you very much.
Are there any solutions to use sharing economy like Uber and so on without having an actual bank account?
Oh, okay, good question. So, as I know, multiple different people that are trying to make a decentralized version of Uber. One of these try is called Arcade.city, but I think it's scam or it doesn't work so well. But at least there are at least another ICO for decentralized ride sharing, and I'm more than sure that this project is still under development. I'm more than sure that both these projects will support cryptocurrencies, even truly cryptocurrencies. But it's not finished yet. It's still under the progress, but it's definitely technically possible,
Panama being the country of your choice, are you going to be involved in the political process there so that you make sure that remains as good as you believe it is, or you just stay there until it gets bad eventually and then you move elsewhere?
Yeah. Okay, so because I'm Panamanian resident, it means that, and because I'm not Panamanian citizen, these are two different things. Usually I cannot vote in global elections. Probably I can vote in some regional elections or something like that, but really I don't care, because I don't care about any like this obsolete democratic system. So to be sincere, I'm just like opportunist. I realize that there is no country in the world which is really free, which provides you both economical and personal freedom. Therefore, if you want to be really free, the only solution or the only way how to achieve it is to combine it all together. Choose one country for a company, choose another country for a residency, choose third country, I don't know, where you want to live. So when you combine all these benefits, advantages of many countries, you can achieve much more freedom you have now. Because if you live in one country, you are under the monopoly of the specific government and their laws and regulation and everything. Question?
You mentioned that in the future we could rely on DAOs for creating companies, but what's going to happen, or what do you think these DAOs are going to operate when they need to do something in the under the physical jurisdiction of other nation states? Do you think that the nation states are going to be happy to let them operate, or do you think that they're going to put barriers?
Yeah, of course not. I think it's the same situation, like the governments now, they are losing monopoly over issuing the currency, thanks to the cryptocurrency. Thanks to the cryptocurrencies, governments are losing their monopoly over money. And I think it's only a question when they lose their monopoly over business licenses. And of course, they won't be happy. But the thing is that if there is enough liquidity, I mean, enough companies which will be DAO, which switch to DAO, and they start to do business each other using the decentralized legal subjects, they can completely ignore what the government thinks. And so the question is what the government wants to do, because it's quite likely that technically they won't be able to find out that there are some big DAO companies doing any business, because everything can be encrypted, everything can be out of their scope. So of course, I think they will try to do everything to shut down DAO, to criminalize people using DAO and so on. Of course, because it's the big competition, like cryptocurrencies now, for the fiat money. Another question?
Wealthy people often pretend they are a permanent resident somewhere. For example, on Malta, it's quite
or Monaco.
often.
Yeah,
on Monaco, they just pay for the internet and rent. They pretend they are permanent. And did you consider such scenario that you just pretend, you just unregistered from some country and you pretend that you are on Panama?
I think the problem is not that rich people are pretending they're resident of some country. What we should do, we should offer this possibility pretending to everybody, you know. Like we should, like this. The problem is not that rich people don't pay taxes. The problem is that other people cannot pay taxes, you know. So we should help the other people not to pay taxes. We should pay other people to liberate from the system, to opt out from the system. This is and the cool thing about this scenario is that it's quite cheap. It's a question of few $1,000s when you want to achieve, for example, your permanent residency and make this setup. Because, for example, if you want to have a permanent residency in Monaco, you need to have like some physical property, at least pay rental, monthly rental, which is 1,000 euros monthly, for example. So when you want to have Monaco permanent residency, you should pay at least 50,000 euros, which is really quite a lot. Only rich people can afford it. But for example, in case of Panama residency, it's a question of maybe $5,000 or $6,000 for 10 years, you know. So the thing is, this is quite cheap, and most people who own like some physical property, flat or house, are able to afford it. So it's not super expensive game for only rich people. This is for most people can afford it, I think.
So it seems like on the first impression that this is mostly relevant, like most of the recommendations to freelancers and entrepreneurs. So like what options do you think are there for employees?
The thing is, of course, this is for entrepreneurs and company owners, because if you are like normal employee in some corporation, the first thing you should do in order to achieve freedom, you should leave your you should leave from this corporation, and so this is the first thing, you know, like quit your job, start your company, and then this is the next step. You know, of course, this is not suitable if you are employed in some corporation, unfortunately. Yeah. So first step is just leave from the big corporation. Another question?
Great talk, thank you. I appreciate all the nuts and bolts, and it wasn't just a high-level philosophical talk, so I appreciate that. My question is with Revolut, they still require ID, and you still need a bank account to fill your Revolut bank account, and it's just basically a different bank account in the UK then. Why do you prefer that over other options?
Okay, so the direct competitor of Revolut is, for example, N26, which is a German company. The problem I have with the N26 is that historically they had a lot of security vulnerabilities in their application. So purely from security point of view, I don't trust them. Another thing is that personally, I much prefer company in Gibraltar, for example, than company in Germany, because I think the German government is totally crazy about anything. And what you should be aware that unfortunately it's technically not possible to have anonymous prepaid card in these days. It's not possible. You know, so KYC, AML are enforced in all banks in all countries. It's not possible. If you achieve some anonymity regarding your debit cards or credit cards, the only option what you can do, you can maybe create some company using nominate director and use this nominate director to ask the given debit card for his or her identity. So this is probably the highest level of privacy you can achieve now. But you should be aware that in case of debit and Visa cards, you basically have no privacy at all in these days, unfortunately. Yeah. So the goal is also not to use debit fiat cards if it is not necessary, but it's difficult now still.
All right. Thank you very much for your answers and for the talk.
Thank you a lot for coming.
We still have more sessions to come. I'm not sure if there is something